submaxillary and the sublingual. We also have a couple of demonstrations of it. Those are for the eruption and shedding. So as we look at parotid, and just take a quick scan, we can see that there is some intralobular fat. See a rather extensive ductwork in here. And right here we've got a striated duct, which is intralobular. And as we go down and take a closer look at that, you can see the basal striations in that duct. And we also see a number of vessels around the area, capillaries. Recall that this is going to be modifying the contents of the saliva. So the striated duct is intralobular in its position, and it will be larger than the surrounding acini that we see right here. And in this case, they are nicely basophilic with a kind of granular cytoplasm. They do not have centroacinar cells as found in the pancreas. Then we see some fat cells. You may come across an occasional plasma cell surrounding those. And as we look around this, you can see a lot of different acini. Let's go down the magnification. And right about there, let's see if we can find that. There is an intercalated duct. Simple cuboidal epithelium, nice round lumen. Easiest to find in the parotid. In fact, this one continues on, and you can follow it to two separate acini. So we've got an intercalated duct that converges with another one, and then finally goes on to there, and finally to a striated duct. Taking another look at this gland, see a larger striated duct, and between the lobules we can find these interlobular ducts, and some of those will have a striated columnar epithelium. Not quite so evident right here, but that's probably what we have, but we'll see that on other slides. Okay, so that's parotid. Let's take a look at another parotid. And the staining characteristics are going to vary in the salivary glands. So in this one, it seems much more compact. We still have some interlobular fat. You see a striated duct right there. And even though we can't see the basal striations quite as well, it's the same size or perhaps larger than the surrounding acini. You can barely make out some of the basal striations, and we see some capillaries in the area right there. But we can also see the secretory granules in the cytoplasm of those acinar cells. And as we look around this, see some more vessels. And there's another intercalated duct right there. Nice round lumen, simple cuboidal epithelium. Sometimes you'll actually see terminal bars towards the apical ends of the cells, right at the junctions between adjacent cells. Okay, and some more intralobular ducts. And here is an interlobular duct, and this time it does have a definite stratified columnar epithelium. Now you will encounter from time to time branches of the facial nerve, and I don't see any right off the bat. But you may come across those as you're going through these sections. Well, there's a portion of one right there. Okay, so that's parotid. Submandibular gland also has intralobular fat, as we see right off the bat, but it has an extensive series of striated ducts. And we can see a number of those. There's one right right there. In fact, let's take a closer look at that. And in this particular case, you can see those terminal bars right at the apical portion of the cell, those little black dots. Basal striations. See the acini, nice secretory granules in the apical cytoplasm. And as we look around, we see a plasma cell right there, so there must be a duct in the area someplace. There's an intercalated duct. They're shorter in the submaxillary or submandibular gland. And as we go back, what's the one thing that we're missing that's present in the submandibular gland, not present in the parotid? Mucus-secreting acini. And in those, we often find serous demiluns. So right there and right there. And there's a nicer one right there. So those mucus-secreting cells tend to be washed out. Kind of makes the boundaries between the cells stand out a bit more. And there's that mucus, or that serous demilune right there. Otherwise, the structures are pretty much the same, except this is a mixed gland. Intercalated ducts are going to be somewhat shortened. Striated ducts will be rather long. And this is also submandibular gland. This one we see a few more mucus acini. Right there. And now you won't always see a nice serous demilune. But sometimes they're not even very crescent shaped. But that's what we have right there. And perhaps over here and over there. And right there is a interlobular duct with that stratified columnar epithelium. And more mucus-secreting acini. And some serous demilunes. Okay, so that's submandibular. Sublingual, one of the slides by Carolina Biological has towards the label side fairly decent sublingual architecture. But as we get away to the other side, it's quite a bit in the way of lymphatic infiltration. So something pathological is going on in this slide. So we'll stick over to the other side here. And even though this staining is a little on the dark side, we have almost entirely mucus-secreting acini. There are occasional serous demiluns, as we see right there. And over here. But almost entirely mucus secretion. So there's a serous demilune right there and right there. And the rest of these cells are all mucus secreting cells. There's another serous demilune right there. So fairly easy to find in this, but not nearly as many of those as you probably see in the submandibular gland. Now the duct structure is the same. However, on the live practical, if I want to find a striated duct or an intercalated duct, I will look in either the submandibular gland or the parotid. But you need to be able to differentiate between all three of those major salivary glands and just identify them. For eruption and shedding, really only one, well, two slides maybe in your slide box. We see a tooth that is beginning to erupt. In fact, the enamel has already poked through. And as we come back down, we can see right next to it, we have a permanent tooth that is developing. And right over here, here's another permanent tooth. Why are there two down there? These teeth are becoming crowded, so you're seeing the tooth from an adjacent alveolus over on this other side. So you're just getting a portion of that. This is the tooth that is going to erupt and replace this tooth. Well, the things to look for on this slide, this is going back even to next or last semester. Look for osteoblasts and look for osteoclasts. And you'll find that on this slide as well. But as we come up, there's the dentin, there's the enamel space. And if this is all we saw, this would be the reduced enamel epithelium. But as this has erupted, as we see right here,